Howdy, this is Howie here with Cedar Creek Homestead, and today's video is how to grow squash. And the two varieties we grow is crookneck squash and zucchini squash. So it's whatever kind of squash you like the best grow, but those are the two. And I have grown acorn squash, we've grown gourds, all kinds of stuff like that. But the kind that I love to eat is either the yellow crook-necked squash or straight-necked yellow. Today we're going to be planting the crook-necked variety. I really don't know, other than looks, that it really matters. And then zucchini squash. And the variety today is a gray, called a gray zucchini. And I've ate different ones, don't really seem to make much difference to me, but it's what grows the best in your neighborhood, is what I say, and what you'll eat. And about the main way that we love to eat squash is just fried. Breaded, fried, in saturated fat. That's the way I like to eat squash. And Josie slices it very, very thin, and she will fry it and bread it and fry it, and it's really good. Now, we don't eat a lot of it, but there's a season we go through here in the summertime where we'll have fried squash, fried okra, sliced tomatoes, cucumbers, you know, just everything out of the garden. I mean, you don't even have to have any meat with a meal like that. Another way I've had zucchini, I've had zucchini bread. You know, there's so many different things you can do with zucchini squash, but one way that I have had it before and was really delicious was to take the zucchini and cut it in half and scoop out the seeds, a big zucchini squash, and make like a taco flavored, taco seasoned meat filling, and put in that where you've scooped out the seeds, and bake that in the oven, and it's very delicious. So we'll try, hopefully we'll get to share some recipes. If we get Josie to do more filming or more in the camera spotlight, maybe she will show you some of her stuff, and maybe we're learning from a lot of you different things that y'all have sent our way and ideas and stuff. So anyway, what I do is for planting squash is I like to heel them up, and I'll show you here what I mean by heeling up. Another one about, you want to get a little ways from your squash heels, because as you go along with these, they'll spread out. They'll get so big, your squash heels will. So I just take and mound me up some dirt like that, and do something like that, and I just kind of pat it down really, really good. Then I'm going to do about 4 of these here. I'd say probably a couple of feet apart. You might even go 3 or 4 foot. I like it for them to kind of be leafed out here and touching each other. And I think it looks really, really pretty when they get all vined out. And what I'm going to do today is plant 2 hills of yellow and 2 hills of zucchini, and that'll give us all the squash we need, and we'll be able to give some away with just 4 hills. I've also got 2 coffee can varieties. I'll do one more here. Boy, it is a beautiful day out here today. All right, I got 4 heels here. One reason for heeling them up like this is the ground will be warmer higher up here. and they will vine and kind of droop down. And it just seemed like to me that squash does very, very well when you hill it. And so I've made these hills. What I'm going to do is make me 3 little holes about 1 inch, no more than 2 inches deep. I'm going to make 3 holes in each one of these hills. Now sometimes there'll be something happen, maybe one won't come up, but that won't be the end of the world. And I'll usually put 3 seeds in each hole. So or you could do 4 holes, whatever it just seems like 3 tends to work. With the crook-necked squash, and this is kind of hard to do single-handedly. And I paid 99 cents for this pack of seed. I've already planted some in coffee cans, and oh mercy, the camera's shaking and all that. Folks, you can tell why I never made it to Hollywood. Not a good camera person. Anyway, there's 3 in each one of these, and I've had pretty good success with planting them just about that deep. And 1, 2, 3, and I don't care if all 3 seeds come up. A lot of times there'll be just 1 come up. Sometimes you'll have, whoops, but I don't really want more than 3. And I'll tell you why. If you get too many, it'll starve your plant out for nutrients. It's this gray zucchini, and I want you to look, if you can see down in there, you get a half a bag like that of seed. Way more seed than what you need for zucchini squash. Yep, I'm spilling them. Anyway, I'll put 3 just like I did the yellow squash. I'll put 3 in each little hole. I dropped a few over here, so I'm picking them up, but over here on the ground. Not that it hurt anything, but and just kind of pat them down lightly. You don't want to do it too hard, or your seeds may not come up. Now, if you want a bunch of squash, you know, if you eat more than what we do, get with it and plant all you want. Anyway, there's the squash for 2020, and this should come up pretty quick within a week. With this warmer days we're having now. Today was 81 degrees, so this squash should pop up out of there and come on. I will tell you that we have trouble here with squash bugs, and so I try to plant early, real early in the season, as early as you can get it going. If you can get some started ahead of time and put out, it really works good. I wished I had some years I'll have some started indoors, and they'll really be big plants, and you can put them out and you get a way big head start on it. But you can even buy them already ready at the store. These here are my coffee can squashes, and I don't know if these are yellow or zucchini. I planted 2 coffee cans with squash, but I done it a little bit late. I should have done this about 2 or 3 weeks earlier, and they would have been way more advanced and they'd done good. But I did this just like I did if you watched my video with the tomatoes. And so I thought I would just try them. I was like, I'm gonna put some potting soil in there and just see what happens, and they come up. But the other 2 cans died, and I didn't mark them. So I don't know if this is zucchini or yellow squash, but I'll be able to tell when it's edible. So the 2 I do have planted, that's just an experiment. I thought, wouldn't that be something to invent something that would help with the squash bugs? And it's hard to, well, it's just hard to deal with them. but it seems like they won't come out until we're about got all the squash that we want. So we won't be too upset over it, usually. But I've tried different things. Last year I tried something, and what I'd done is I sprinkled some of those flea and tick granules that you can buy at the store. I had sprinkled around the squash plants and on the ground, and it seemed like that slowed them down. I didn't have as much trouble until later, and then I didn't do it for a while, and all of a sudden they come on. I know some people don't like using any kind of poisons, and we use very little stuff. I've tried Seven Dust. I've tried diatomaceous earth. I've tried sprays. A guy at our church uses a certain spray, but I'll have big, beautiful vines, and they eventually succumb to what I call squash bugs. Some call them the borers. I don't want to get into arguments on differences, but they'll be them little bugs, and they'll be all over them, and they just eventually take over, and they hatch little ones. I've come out here, I kill them, pinch them off, do stuff, and they still take over. That's the worst predator we have here in the garden, is squash bugs. And so anyway, I tried that last year, and it did slow them down a little bit. But then they eventually still, you had to keep after it. If you did it every week or two, you'd probably be okay for your squash bugs. Anyway, I'm gonna probably this year I'll do some of them flea and tick granules again, and see. I've done them before with my tomatoes early like this when I had a cutworm epidemic, and I put them through there, and some say that'll kill everything out. I'll tell you one thing it does kill is those little grubs, the little grub worms, the little white ones. It does kill those out, but my actual earthworms, I can't tell that it's hurt the earthworms. We still got just as many of those as we ever did, so it may temporarily slow them down, or they may leave or whatever, but it does kill them little white grubs. Sometimes you'll see them after you put that on the soil, you'll see that come up, and I don't do the whole garden. I'll just do around my tomato plants, but that does take care of your cutworms. And so last year I thought, I'll try it to see if it helps with the squash bugs, and it did, like I say. But we actually got hot, and we were getting tired of squash, and we'd ate so much that I really didn't care if we was giving it away and everything. Didn't really care if they made it or not. Anyway, I got to tell you a little quick story here before we go. When me and Josie, we hadn't been married very many years, but a few, and we'd raised gardens and stuff. But I went to Walmart and bought cucumber plants. And if you've watched my video on cucumbers, I grow by seeds now. But there was a time when I would buy cucumber plants and set out, and especially if I was running a little bit late. So I go to Walmart, I buy a whole tray, 36 plants of cucumbers. And it said like Boston pickle or some variety like that. And I brought them home and I set them out. And I also bought some squash, just like maybe 4 squash plants while I was there. And I put them out. Well, a few days went by, and Josie come out to the garden looking around, and she says, "Honey," she said, "have you noticed that your squash looks just like your cucumbers, or the cucumbers look just like the squash?" And I get to looking, and I'm like, well, the squash plants were a little bit bigger than the cucumber plants. I said, "Oh, no." I said, they look similar, but they're not the same. Well, sure enough, they were the same. And what we had was all zucchini squash. All the cucumber plants that I thought was cucumbers was actually zucchini squash, and somebody at Walmart lied. Someone marked the wrong package, because we had all zucchini squash. We gave zucchini squash away, brought it to church in buckets. We took it to the nursing home there. The elderly people there at the nursing home, they really loved that zucchini squash. So we got to bless a lot of people, but we didn't have a cucumber crop that year, and at all. I don't think we raised a cucumber one. So when you're gardening, sometimes there's kind of learning curves. And that's something I would say about gardening. It takes a while, and it takes you a while to kind of get into your little niche, your little groove of things that you want to do. So don't be disappointed if you try something one year and it don't work. Just try and try again. It'll work. And watch videos like this and other YouTube creators that's into gardening. There's so many different videos, and I kind of have certain ones that I really like, and some that I've watched long enough, I see their stuff works, and some of them do things that I'm like, hey, I've done that, and that did not work here. You know, sometimes in your area, it's going to be different. I've lived in Missouri, I've lived in Arkansas, I've lived in Texas, and of course here in Oklahoma the most, and each place has a little different take on how you grow things because of the temperatures, because of the soil and stuff. Everything's got a little different little tweak there in every area. So don't think you can take and do exactly what someone else does and it all work out fine, but it does give you some ideas to do. And if you're here in Oklahoma, what I'm doing should work very great for you here in Oklahoma. Although if you go very far to the south here, or you go very far to the north, we're up in kind of the northeastern part of Oklahoma and part of the edge of what they call the Ozarks. So if you're familiar with that term, the Ozarks, we're actually part of that area here where we're at now. So you kind of get in the Ozarks region, but even in this Ozarks region, the further east you go, like on over in Arkansas, things begin to change. Or if you go a little bit north up into Missouri, things are a little bit different. Between here and northwest Arkansas, it's about a 2-hour drive, and there's a lot of times a 10-degree difference on the news. Our news gives us our weather plus over in Arkansas, so we get, and sometimes there'll be as much as a 10-degree difference in the areas. And sometimes in the winter they may be as much as a 30-degree difference. It's funny how just 2 hours away, you know, as a crow flies, you could probably be there in 30 minutes. But anyhow, I appreciate you watching today, and if you're not a subscriber, we would appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell there after you subscribe, and give us a thumbs up. Got a comment? Put it down in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. And or got a question, I'll try to answer it if I can. And I say God bless you today, and we'll see you next time here at Cedar Creek Homestead, and we're gone.